So we're going to hop across the river, and we're going to spend some time in Cambridge, and by that I mean 7 minutes in Cambridge. And we wanted to give you both the city perspective, but then talk to some advocates. The last couple of years have been transformational in Cambridge. There's been great city leadership in Cambridge, but what's been really impressive is working side by side with a grassroots effort that has mobilized hundreds, if not thousands, of people to bring better biking infrastructure to Cambridge, and they're doing a great job. So we wanted to give them a little time so that you guys could hear more and learn about how they're changing their community. So Annie and Mark, welcome to the stage.
This is a group that formed in response to a bicycle crash and fatality in Inman Square in June 2016. Our mission is to urge the city to build safer bike infrastructure in the form of a network of protected bike lanes. So who are we? We are all volunteers. We are primarily residents of Cambridge, although we have members from Somerville and Medford. We're lucky enough to have people who are very good at public relations, social media campaigns, technical people who can build our website, digital content, do GIS mapping, graphic design, and data analysis of crash data. And the one thing we have in common is a deep passion for this important safety issue. So what do we want? Our goals are, because it's an important safety issue, we'd like to see this network implemented on as aggressive a time frame as possible. We also urge the city to remain committed to its Vision Zero goals of zero traffic fatalities. And finally, full integration of the bike plan network on all major arterial routes in the city. All right, so now I'll let Annie talk about some of the achievements.
So is it this one? The other one, cool. All right, so our first big moment happened in October of last year when we delivered a petition to the city council that called for safe infrastructure on all major city streets. And this did two things for us, really. It first showed the city council that there was broad support for bike safety, and it also was our biggest growth spurt. We got a lot of contact info that we've been using since in our organizing efforts. And after the petition, the city came back and told us that they weren't really planning to do anything until the spring, which was unacceptable to us because we had suffered 2 tragedies very recently and wanted to see something tangible that would make the streets safer. And so we went back to the city council, and more policy orders are passed, and we got these 2 pilot lanes that you see here. And also what we did was encourage our members to send a thank you email for those, because we had been on the council's case and the city's case for a while, that something positive was also very effective and appreciated. Several months later, we got the Cambridge Street bike lane, or not we, but the city installed it. It went from Harvard Square to Inman Square. And a few of the key points there were we canvassed for the first time. We went, because we knew that the city tends to listen to residents who live around the project areas usually. So we wanted to make sure that people who supported the bike lanes showed up to the meetings and wrote in. Another key point was the proximity to the high school and the existence of a student bike advocate group. They even did things like go around and count the number of bikes in the bike racks during a school day. And at that point, it was over 200. Now it's over 300. Now the lanes are in. And that just shows, yeah, right? And that shows, the dire need for students to be able to get to and from school safely. And lastly, we had a local business raffle after the lanes were installed to sort of just to encourage people to go to the lanes, or the businesses on the lanes, and to show that, bikers shop too. And next was the city council election that happened just a month ago. It was very important because a third of the incumbents were were not running again, which was unusual in Cambridge. And also after the Cambridge Street lane went in, as well as some other projects, an opposition was starting to form and was growing more vocal and organized. So it was really important for us to elect a bike-friendly council that would help further our progress. And actually, just want to point out, those are 2 counselors at our Cambridge Street celebration, Jan Devereaux and Mark McGovern. It's a great picture. Yeah. And so a key part of our strategy was our platform. And we decided on this because in Cambridge there were 26 different candidates. So we didn't want to limit ourselves to just a few. We wanted a table like this that one of our amazing graphic designers put together, but that showed that how the candidates stood on putting in a protected network. To create the platform, one of the volunteers used GIS to measure the number of miles in the city's bike plan and compared it to the number of miles that were already completed. And from there, we sort of built we calculated the number of miles that were needed to be done each year to have the network completed in 5 years. So we sort of tried to make it aggressive and then also base it in some data. Some other strategies were making sure people registered to vote. We talked to the various candidates to see whether or not they'd be a champion for bike safety, and we also called and texted people right before the election to make sure they knew about the candidates and were going to vote. Now back to Mark to talk about some of the pushback we've been receiving.
Right, and so as you can imagine, there were some members of the community who were opposed to the infrastructure changes. It was mainly led by a powerful business association and a local pharmacist. And we found, unfortunately, they were spreading a good bit of misinformation and confusion about the process, claims about the process not being slow enough or inclusive, problems with emergency vehicles, street cleaning, snow removal, but we believe the city has already thought about, if not addressed, most all these issues. And then we saw an independent extra-governmental commission form with the name, nice-sounding, Safe Streets for All, that has as a goal to remove some of this infrastructure. So in response, we just created some materials that were myth-busting counterpoints to counter that narrative. And so next steps, what are we doing next? We're continuing to build coalition, greater outreach to new city councilors to keep them engaged and informed, and talking to local businesses who recognize the benefits for safe bike routes for employees and customers. Trying to grow our base with new members because all this outreach takes a lot of time, and also talking to senior groups and affordable housing. So finally, I would invite you to look at our website, cambridgebikesafety.org, if you want to get involved. Thank you for listening, and ride safe.